warrant?
Yeah, I will do it.
It's all set.
So you need to make a motion on the approved payroll or just?
Signs, yep. Animal control officer. Resident on Blueberry Lane.
I thought he had a statement, I called the DA, they told me to submit it to your office, and then see what you, and they put a prioritize on it, and look it over. Tell them what I need to do next.
I can't hear you.
I got it.
Yeah.
So since.
Do you have mics up there, microphones?
Excuse me?
Give me microphones you can use.
Can you speak up? We can't hear you.
It didn't use a lot of time, so I said.
We'll speak louder.
Oh, you have it.
And speak slower.
Okay. You guys gotta be quiet, because they'll hear me. You got a letter from, Lisa Herbert about this ongoing problem with the dogs down on Blueberry Lane. And I'm gonna read it to you so that everybody hears it and knows what's going on. This is a written statement telling basically what's happening. This written statement is being provided at the request of the animal control officer for the town of Brownfield, Maine, to address the frequent dogs at large on my 2-acre property located on 48 Blueberry Lane, Brownfield, Maine. All the dogs at large in this statement belong to Randy and Diane Burnell, who live next door at 56 Blueberry Lane, Brownfield, Maine, a property just over 10 acres. The neighborhood we live in is a small development with 9 homes, which include mine and the Burnells. The Burnells' property is at the end of the cul-de-sac, right at the end of the road. Unfortunately, the Burnells' dogs have been at large regularly on my property as well as that of my neighbors and other properties in town for years. The ACO, Animal Control Officer, and the Selectmen's Office for the town of Brownfield have been aware of this ongoing issue, but has remained unresolved. I would like the ACO and the Selectmen representing the town of Brownfield to uphold the consequences set forth in the dog control ordinance for the town of Brownfield. And we do have an ordinance. As well as the state of Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. There's 2 laws that deal with it, depending on what Randy claims they're doing, I guess. Although there have been many incidents where I have reported that the Burnell's dogs, typically 1 to 6 dogs at a time, have been on my property, and the Burnells have supposedly been contacted by the ACO, it has continued to be an issue. Unfortunately, I recently found out that the ACO, from the ACO, that the video images from our security camera that I had been sending her all along were no longer available to be viewed. I contacted their security company, the company that has the camera, who we have a security agreement with, and they advised that the video images expire 30 days from the date of the recording, so there is no way to review them. Now that I know this, going forward, if the dogs at large continue on my property, I will save the videos to my cell phone and then forward them to the ACO. Just that whole letter is just basically to show you how what's going on. She's got a whole bunch of dates here, and supposedly got the videos and whatever. On Wednesday, October 11th, the ACO told me that the Burnells have not received any summons. I would like to know why, as I don't believe that this is in accordance with our town ordinance or state law. I would also like to see a copy of the ACO's report from all the incidents she has been contacted regarding the Benel's dogs at large. Have you been keeping control of this?
Huh?
Have you been keeping, account of all these?
Yeah, you're on my phone, my personal phone, yes.
I would also like to note that the ACO was aware that the Benels were issued a notification of no trespassing from Maine Game Warden Lucas, I can't even pronounce his last name. Back on September 15th of 22. It was issued at my request. Per the new law, it has an expiration of 365 days from the date issued. In other words, you gotta renew the fact that you don't want people hunting on your land every year. Unless you're posted. All right, recently at my request, the warden issued a new no trespass notification to the Benels on October 13th of 23. I feel the ACO and the town of Brownfield have been negligent in the handling of the dog at large with the Benels. The subject of the Benels dog at large and constant barking has been brought to the board by myself and neighbors numerous times. Of note, a statement by myself was submitted to the Oxford County DA in 22. I learned last week that the file was closed in the late October of 22 because our ACO advised the DA's office that there was nothing new going on. In mid-October of 22, a confrontation took place in the street in front of my house between Mr. Bennell and I. Our ACO was also present because my neighbor across the street had contacted her about the dogs. I requested that a sheriff be dispatched to my house as the confrontation made me uncomfortable. Mr. Burnell and I were both told by the sheriff that if we could not find a way to conclude the conversation, we would be arrested for disorderly conduct. Mr. Burnell said I should act neighborly and contact him directly when his dogs are loose, not the authorities or SWAT. Because I feared arrest, Because I feared arrest, I obliged from that point until March 28th of 23, I had been only reaching out to Randy Bennell when his dogs were on my property. Because the occurrence continued from March 28 to 23 until July 2023, I notified both Randy and our ACO from July 20th to 23 to the current. I chose to only contact the ACO as I felt the continued issue was not resolving but getting worse. So it's definitely, you definitely got a problem. She shows some pictures of the dogs being out there and whatever. And I just wanted to bring it out in a public meeting because talking with Lisa and talking with some of the other neighbors and talking with the CEO one-on-one, going around and around, and it's not getting anyways. So I want to bring that out so that we can hopefully take whatever steps we need to take to put stop to it.
I would like to correct one thing. The paperwork you found last week is on file, it's not closed. It's on file with the DA, I talked to the DA's office, it's on file. And I asked him if he said, and it's still on file. It is.
Could be on file, but closed.
No, they say it's on file, they didn't say closed, nothing, they said on file.
There is one other issue I want to bring up about this situation. And this is just hearsay, because I haven't proven it yet to whether it's true or not, but some people are claiming that that cul-de-sac at the end of Blueberry Lane belongs to Randy Burnett. Personally, I find that hard to believe because knowing, you know, how the town accepts a road, they're not gonna accept a road with no place to turn the trucks around. And like I said, I haven't found the facts yet, but we are looking into it, and we will be finding out who owns that cul-de-sac. Because the reason I bring that up is because it's a technicality, but he claims that they're in that cul-de-sac, I guess they're still not his problem.
This is the $700,000 street. I don't know how we found it, that's what I was
I
trying to.
don't know, but I haven't seen it, so I need to see that. So that's that issue. Anything to say about that?
No? No? The, Hannah came in.
I sure did.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah.
Explain the tax rate.
Explain the tax
Lisa had her
rate.
hand up for a question
Oh,
back here.
I'm sorry. Lisa?
Yeah.
So I'm Lisa Hebert, everybody. Thank you for reading my letter. So this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time. And for our neighborhood, which is right over here, very quiet, great neighborhood, other than the dog issue. And I'm just at a point where something has to be done by this town, and I thank Frank for looking into everything. But I think most importantly, just, you know, just want to let everybody know that the game warden has been involved. He issued a citation on Friday, and the dogs are now trespassing on my property if they're out there hunting. They were issued on Friday. It happened again over the weekend. It happened yesterday. It happened again today. So it's a disregard for authority, and so I just want people to understand, I'm not trying to, you know, call out dogs at large, per se, like your dog gets loose out of your yard. Most people will be looking for their animal, or where they are. So this is a problem where you open the door and they just roam freely. They've been as far as this property here, and you know, I've seen them around. So it's not just my property, and we're not talking one dog. We're talking 6 or 7 at a time. And these are family pets. He has kennels that he houses hunting dogs. So, you know, I just want everyone to know that it's not one dog we're talking about. And I have video, they go right up to my back deck, they go to my front steps, they're all over my yard. And I have a dog. I don't think that's fair to someone's dog in their house. And I'm not home, but I can see it on my camera that it's upsetting my dog. So, and when my grandchildren come over, you know, having 6 unfamiliar dogs coming at your children is not okay.
Should you have an issue to take Randy for dog being loose?
I have to submit it to the DA, I've told you this before, I have to submit it.
You haven't issued it, is what I asked.
I have to
Okay, you
submit
told
it.
me you were gonna do that.
Huh?
You told me a while ago, if they did it again, you were gonna do that.
I said, now I told the DA, see what they want me to do. I had to follow what the DA said, because they're the ones who are going to charge.
Well, aren't you in charge of writing the tickets before they go to the DA?
You have to submit everything, your findings to the DA, and they'll tell you what to do next. I called them, you can go ahead and call Joe. That's what I have to do. You have to do it in Cumberland County too. All the DAs are making me do this now.
Why do we have a town ordinance? That clearly says what the ACO's job is. And I also have actually the job responsibilities of the ACO. And it says otherwise.
Well, town ordinance, the DA will not prosecute. That's up to the town lawyer.
Right. Again.
That's up to the town lawyer.
Okay.
Going forward, just so everyone knows, the dogs are either going to be at large March, or he states they're hunting. So it's one or the other. Just
Oh,
for,
training.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you said training.
Well, if they're training, that's a violation and another citation.
They cannot
because
get
it's
on
not
people's
a
property,
hunt- They
being
cannot,
trained.
it's a hunting law. She needs
Our ordinance says different.
she needs a
Our
copy of
ordinance,
the.
I should tell me now.
Brian?
So, is our neighborhood, everybody else is the problem, not the people that live in the road with the dogs, is that what we're hearing?
No.
I mean,
I didn't follow the law, I didn't let him out. I had to follow the law, and I had to follow what.
well, the game warden was saying, said people with dogs do not belong on other people's property.
That's game one.
Well, that's, he's the authority here.
The game one reports
Hang on just a minute, hang on just a minute, this argument's not getting us anywhere. We're talking right now, we're gonna call the DA's office, verify what she's saying. Look, all we can do is take this one step at a time, because arguing back and forth is not.
But this has been going on, Frank, for quite some time.
I
And we
understand.
come to these meetings, and it's always the same answer.
TJ?
This is probably not the appropriate format either. This
Right.
is a town employee, it's a personnel matter. We're gonna
It's
follow-
okay, you do whatever you want.
No, it's not, okay.
It's okay.
Well, it's a clarification of the issue,
It's,
not a direct.
that's what I'm saying, it shouldn't be, so we probably should.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with that. Hannah?
Hi, everybody. Some of you have seen me around town, visiting everybody's houses. I'm assisting Bob in doing the assessing of the reval, and I helped him in setting the tax rate this year. The board is going to be lovely enough to describe to you lovely folks, hopefully.
Bring something forward, you gotta stack papers this big.
Yeah. More than likely, it has an orange sticky on it.
Yeah. All right. We want to accept this the way it is right now, I mean,
I mean, it's what we have to do, I mean,
there's no, before we discuss it, we might as well decide.
that's the only rate we can use, right?
That's
That's it.
it.
I know when I left, it was a lot less than that.
It sure was, but the attorney did come back and say that one of the, articles voted at town meeting did indeed have to be added to the municipal side of budget, which created a, I think it's $1.05 increase in tax rate. So instead of being at $16.75 per thousand on a house, it's gonna be at $17.80. So,
It's $1.05 increase.
yeah, so on a house that's assessed at $100,000, you're looking at a $105 increase in your taxes.
And that was the article for $422,000 that they voted to raise in case they got the loan to repair this building. So that's what did that.
There was questioning on the wording of the article, the way the article was worded, it didn't directly say to raise and appropriate. So the board did talk to the attorney to verify that that number did have to be included.
Yeah. Joe?
Thanks, Dick. Hannah, so in general, throughout the town, did the value of properties go up?
It did, so we visited new houses, we visited everyone that got a building permit out at the beginning in May, right around there, we visited everyone who got a building permit. I have visited 80% of the town. The total valuation thus far of the town has increased by $5 million. So that did assist in keeping that tax rate lower. If we didn't have that valuation increase, it would have created a higher tax rate.
So do you have any idea on average what it's going to cost, aside from the $1.05? Do you have any idea what that's going to do on average for homes in town?
Like like I said, it's gonna be for 100,000 valuation, it would be 105
Yep.
increase overall. Again, if you guys do have any questions, just give us a call down at the office or shoot us an email. We'd be more than welcome to answer them for you.
She
So-
does answer emails.
I do answer my emails.
Bruce?
Yes, last year they initiated a tax freeze. Did that get taken away, or what's the story behind that?
Yep, so the stabilization program, I'm sure most of you know about, was state-induced in that the taxes will be frozen for those who signed up for the program. And that is in effect for this tax year, so your taxes will be frozen. The state will reimburse the town the difference between the increase for those properties. Next year is a different story. The state did change the program in that it will now be through doing a state tax return. So you will have to file a tax return in 2025 in order to get a refund of the taxes.
I got one more question. When are we gonna get a tax bill?
As soon as they sign papers.
Yep. Yep. We'll probably have it in the mail next week.
We're now less than a month away.
Yep.
Know how much is going up and
Yep.
less.
They'll be posted to the web also as quickly as we can get them.
I don't have access.
No, but other people might.
Good.
I apologize for not being more informed about the tax freeze that you mentioned. Are there parameters that you have to meet in order to qualify for the tax freeze, or do you just have to apply?
You have to qualify, so you have to be, I think it's 65 and older, in order to be able to qualify. It has to have a homestead, you have to claim it as essentially a homestead. It has to be your domicile for, most of the year, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So if we stop down at the office, you can tell us what you evaluated our house at?
Yep.
Okay.
So, two things, Hannah. How many properties are there in Brownfield?
Total properties, I don't know that answer, but total properties that have buildings on them is 1,104.
1,104. And it's $5 million that the valuation went up? And with the...
We are not finished with the reval portion. That's just stuff like garages, people changing, additions that they didn't get permits for, decks, that sort of stuff.
Yep. And for the freeze, don't you have to be a resident of Maine for 10 years also?
Yes. Yep.
Yep, okay. Look at it.
So
Yep.
the $1.05 is that per thousand, per 100,000?
Per thousand, so the $1.05 is per thousand of valuation. So what your house is valued at. So for a $100,000 house, it would be about $105 more.
Thank you.
Can't see your face now. Brian?
Yeah, do they ever take into account, like, maybe people struggling with their taxes, or can't pay their taxes, or haven't been paying their taxes?
There are programs, I have noticed as I've been visiting people that a lot of you don't know what a homestead exemption is, and that is something that a lot of folks that I have met do qualify for but are not getting. I think we're going to be putting that in our little notice, sending out to people that you guys may qualify for it, so please look at that. That knocks the valuation down, it does knock some of your tax bill down, the town does get reimbursed for it.
Can you speak about the parameters of that, like
Yeah.
if you need to be?
Yep, so for a homestead exemption, you have to be a resident of Maine. You need to have owned the house for a full year, starting April 1st, and have lived in that house for the full year, starting April 1st. And that's it, you have to register to vote, either register to vote, register your car, something along those lines here in the town, and you'd be able to fill that right out.
Bob, you got
Yeah, there's 1,611 total parcels in town. You're asking that, so there's a fair number of vacant parcels. So, Hannah's pretty much covering the waterfront here. Yeah, we work together, obviously. And so the other thing that is a possible temporary relief for some people is something called a poverty abatement, where somebody hits, the skids temporarily, and they've got a significant problem. That's something that goes directly through the select board, so you will want to talk with those folks. It's something that's kept confidential. That's why it doesn't go through the assessor's office. Everything we do has to be available to the public, for public exams. So there's a confidential process. You get a hold of Alvina, she'll take care of you.
And the tax discounts for the veterans, that's through the state, I mean, not through
The homestead and veterans are very similar. It's the same thing. It's allocated to us by the state, but we as the local assessors assess it. The difficulty is when you have an assessment ratio that keeps dropping, we have to drop the amount of exemption by our assessment ratio. I just came here from a selectmen's meeting in Porter. Their assessment ratio is 61%. So instead of getting a $6,000 homestead veterans exemption, they're going to get a $3,600 veterans exemption. Same thing with the homestead. If we're at 100% of market value, you get a $25,000 exemption. Down there, they're going to get a $16,000 exemption. It goes down because your assessment ratio has been dropped. That's one of the two reasons why we're doing this thing. The other thing is, the reason we're doing this whole thing is to make sure that the data that we have on everybody's property is accurate. Some people have done construction and, kind of not gone through the permitting process. Other people, their houses have actually depreciated quite a bit, and there's been no recognition of it, and we should do that. So that's the kind of thing that we're working on now.
And Bob, does the homestead rebate have to be applied for every year? Or
No,
once you have
homestead's a one-timer. If you've applied for that, we'll just keep it in a database until you move. And then when we notice that you've moved because there's been a transfer, it'll get removed, and if you do move to another town, you should reapply there.
Okay. So is everybody clear on the rate, 1780 per thousand?
I do want to make one minor comment about that. Hannah and I together are the assessors here, but we are also in Cornish and in Porter and in Denmark and in Freiburg, okay? And it, according to the math, I think it's going up 5.5%. Was that what the last number was?
I don't remember.
The tax rate. So I can tell you that in Cornish, the tax rate went up 6%. And then in Porter and in Denmark, it went up 7%. And in Freiburg, it went up 8%. So if misery loves company, I just want you to know that you're not alone in this. It's not like everybody else has got a flat tax rate.
And does this have any impact on school funding?
No.
School funding has impact on this. So school funding is part of the calculation to get to your tax rate. Because it's funded by the townspeople, so that it has to be split by the townspeople.
Can you tell me a little bit about this article that was $400 and whatever, many $1,000? Something about a loan or?
No, when Joe went to the applying the grant to work on this building, you have to have 25% upfront to be able to do that. So the people voted to put that money there, even though we haven't got the application or anything done yet. So that's what's happening.
If we end up not getting a grant,
It goes to surplus.
could reduce our tax rate another year.
Yeah.
How many years is it tied up for?
It's
How
only-
many years does it take to get this grant?
Well,
Anybody know?
you're probably looking at 2 years anyways. It's like the firehouse, they've been working on that quite a while. It just, you have to wait for all the appropriations committees, all the typical government red tape.
Well, I just wondered if it was a year or 10 years or.
You're gonna be 2, possibly 3.
Thank you.
Joe?
Dick, with that article, it was posed if a grant was received, would the town be willing to contribute 25% of that I'm just using round numbers, 1.7 million. So since we haven't applied, does that, and we're not, as of right now, we're not going to, and have no intentions to, especially, like, until we find out what's happening with the firehouse, which we may not know that till the end of next year. Wouldn't that mean we wouldn't have to include that number, that $400,000, as part of the taxes?
We asked that to the lawyer, and he said because the way it was worded, that it had to be added to this year.
I did do that. I would like to remind you that I did ask you about that because we knew we had the fire department grant applied for and possibly that we were gonna get it, Joe. And you said, I want this article in the warrant.
Oh, I did, yeah, there's no question about that. But nobody brought up at the time that this would be included in the taxes. It just seems kind of far-fetched, even with what the attorney said. Like, why would we have to account for something that, number one, we don't have, and number two, we know we're not gonna have for the next year? It just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, you can put an article in next year to turn it towards the firehouse until the next one comes along. And because it's already done, you already pulled that money out. So we could do that, but not then turn it towards the firehouse for the next time.
Yeah, I think that just doesn't make sense to me, but, we can continue the conversation. I'm just surprised to hear that.
Okay, we're all set with this, let's move on to the next thing.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
so we've decided that this is what it's gonna be.
That's right.
All right, I make a motion that we accept this for the waste.
I'll second it. All in favor?
No.
That's done. Okay. One more thing, Bruce, that's
That's what it
it.
sounds.
I'm used to that. At town meeting, I said that we're spending money like a drunken sailor. Now it's coming back to fruition. I hope that people know what they voted on next time, because they've been kept in the dark a lot.
Yep. Yep.
So who's gonna enlighten the people? Like if they're being kept in the dark?
That item was brought forward to us, it wasn't our item. Yeah, it was brought to us, so. All right, let's get out of this one, we get quite a bit to go on.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Lois.
All right, let me go back to coffee.
Yep.
I just want to say that the Oxford County Board of Commissioners are looking into the feasibility of establishing a regional animal control officer. Is what?
It's a state agent for Oxford County.
Right.
We cover the whole of Oxford County, we only have two now.
But I just wanted to say it because that's what they're looking for.
What does that mean, Frank? What does that mean?
I don't have no idea.
An agent, a regional or state agent is the one that comes around and handles abuse cases of animals, real severe cases. They have more power to take an animal off the property than I do. Cause they get, they have the records of the state, they go to the state every day, report to, I think her name is Rachel? Don't quote me, but they get a state truck, they get all kinds of bells and whistles.
Okay. I just want to let you know the state's working on it. They haven't given us any information on what's going to happen, so. We have correspondence from Cindy Willits regarding the interest on her taxes. Also, a deposit she said was made on May 9th, 23, and Wanda's looking into that. So there's kind of something going on there that it's not settled, and I assume Wanda knows to settle it.
Yeah, yeah. We were in the thing that said a lot.
I do want to bring up the fact, let me see. We have a email from the lawyer's office to do with this Article 6 and 7 at the town meeting, because there's certain group of people here in town took on themselves to hire a lawyer. It seems to prove that the selectmen are not handling this legally. But according to our lawyer, we are. So I'm not going to read, I mean, it goes on and on and on. I don't know if you want to read any of this at all. Has to do with the articles that we're putting on referendum. They, this, I'm going to just say a group of people hired a lawyer, and they sent us a letter basically saying that we are doing it, we're not doing it properly because we didn't have the proper, what do you call it, hearings? Yeah. Hearings before. But like I just said, we contacted our lawyer and had him go over what we did, and he said what we did was all right. So it's, I don't know exactly how it's going to come out.
So what are those articles saying that you're putting in?
Those are the 4 articles.
Those 4 articles we're putting on the referendum.
And what are the, I don't know what those are.
It has to do with the position of the tax collector treasurer. You know, right now it's elected, and the articles is to see if the town wants to change it to appointed. That's one article. The second article is to do with the clerk and registrar, same deal. She's elected at the time, and change it to appointed. And the third article is about creating a committee of 4 people to be on a board to find, you know, to
Hiring committee.
hiring committee. And then the last article is to do with correcting a additional typo on the CEO's, is it?
ACO.
Yeah, I always get the ACO's pay scale, so we're just trying to correct that. That's what we have.
And is a copy going to be made available to the public on that document you didn't want to read?
We're big, everything here,
Well, I didn't know whether it was copied under lawyer, town privilege, or what, that's all.
no, this is all public.
So anybody can get a copy of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, are those articles that you just mentioned, are they published anywhere? So I looked at the website and I didn't see those articles. That we're voting on.
I think she would have put them on there, but I will double check.
I didn't see them there, but maybe I wasn't looking.
You can get an absentee ballot through the website, so
Yeah.
I think that it is, but
Yeah.
it is posted in the office also.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't see it in the office. Does anyone else? It should be somewhere around.
I agree.
But it could be, I just wasn't looking in the right place on the website.
That's me.
Yeah. We didn't write, no, we didn't write that, no. No? Yeah, all right. Terry?
I would just like to ask why articles that were voted on at town meeting by the legislative body in this town, who decided they should be repealed, rewritten, and revoted with a different intent from what the original articles were?
Because the original article was outside, the amendment was outside the original article spec. The other articles were all put back in the way they were. We
But-
changed the amendment to fit the article.
Well, but you rewrote the articles so they have a different intent from the originally written articles. The original article said that those positions would be appointed. It didn't say appointed by the select board. And the amendment said that there would be a hiring committee made up of 4 members, 4 residents elected at large who would have an equal say along with the select board as part of that hiring committee. When those amendments were rewritten into new
That amendment
articles.
was outside the realm of the original article.
Okay, so when they were rewritten, they were changed to then say that the select board would do the appointing and that the hiring committee would be appointed by the select board. So it gave all the power to the select board instead of to the people of the community.
Well, there's a certain group that's trying to take all the power. If they took that 4 people, they voted those 4 people could overrun the selectmen and not get the right person for that job. That's not equal, that's not fair to the town of Brownfield.
So why those 4 people could be people that the select board are happy with? Who knows, but it'd be 4
There's
people.
gonna be a mix
that-
of people on this committee.
Okay,
You
so-
don't know how we're gonna pick it. You're making accusations of how we're gonna pick it.
I said nothing of the sort.
We are gonna pick what's the best group for the town of everybody to make this work.
But how did the select board take that power back to themselves when the people of the town, the legislative body said that
Again,
decision
it was
should be
outside
made?
the realm of.
Would you quit interrupting her?
I'm
So,
telling her answers.
so you rewrote the article to give all the power to the select board, and you didn't share that language until the absentee ballots were printed. When we put the comprehensive plan on the referendum, we were told unequivocally that you needed that language 60 days in advance. That language had to be made public. We had to have a public hearing, so there was input. None of that happened for these referendum articles. Why did it not?
It's a totally different animal for making an ordinance, this is to making.
It's not an ordinance. It's a referendum question. And we had to follow different rules. Why did you not follow the same rules? Why was it kept a secret so that people show up to vote and they're surprised by
If
it?
you came in the selectmen meeting and you heard what we were doing, it wasn't kept a secret. Bruce?
It was deemed illegal, so over,
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
It was not deemed illegal.
Yes, it was.
It was not, if you go back and look at the attorney's letter, it was not deemed
Joe?
illegal.
Thanks, Dick. I'm Joe Egan, and I'm one of the people who hired the attorney. And first of all, the intent of the amendments, legal, illegal, the intent of the amendments was to make sure that there was a body of people who were going to select the treasurer and the clerk. And the reason that the people who voted for that amendment at the annual town meeting wanted that, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but whether it's the current select board, whether it was the previous select board, whether even if I was a select board member, I wouldn't want them or myself making that decision regarding a treasurer. Because what do we know about selecting a treasurer? There's people in this town who have had corporate finance careers, they've had banking careers, they've had accounting careers, and they would be invaluable in making that choice. And I think it would be in the best interest of everybody in this town if those 4 people could be elected and work with the select board in picking someone. Now, the second part to that is the reason why I'm adamant about that is because at least 2 of these select board members, when it came time to pick a person to fill the planning board seat that was vacated by Deb Merrill, there were 2 candidates. One was Eric Walker and one was Carrie Garland. Carrie Garland had just moved into the town. Dick raised a piece of paper in the air and said she has a resume. Well, that's all well and good, but when I asked Dick how long has she lived here, he didn't know that. And so, in my opinion, I don't feel comfortable having the select board be the sole reason or the sole source for selecting a treasurer or a clerk. And I think it's important that the intent of that amendment that was added be followed, and it wasn't. We can get two attorneys in here and they can argue about 60 days, 30 days, 45 days, whatever it is. Will we get it resolved? I don't know. But the select board, when they rewrote the articles, did not follow the intent of the legislative body, that's all of us, as far as having that committee. So that's the reason in a nutshell.
Haley?
When did you move into the town?
When did I move into town?
Yes. As a full-time resident.
What does that have to do with?
What's the relevance to that?
Because you just said Carrie just moved into town, so I'd like to know when you moved into town, since you're part of this.
I'll tell you, I moved in August 2019.
2019, okay, now where are you from?
Oh, forget it. I'm not, Jesus.
No, where
This isn't a trial.
No, forget it. I'm not answering your question. That's ridiculous.
You're relevant. Carrie has been a resident
From here now.
around the area a lot longer than you have.
Did she live in the town? No, she lived in Stowe.
She.
And why did she move into the town?
Why did she move?
If you want to ask questions, why did she move into town?
To be quiet down. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, you moved into town for one of the reasons is it has the most purest form of government. Is that correct?
I
Is that
can't,
correct?
no, because I didn't know what the form of government was till I moved here. And when I found out, I was surprised and thought it was terrific.
Well, all I'm saying is you're a newbie and you're trying to change the way things were.
Oh, you know what? That argument's ridiculous.
Let Bruce speak.
I'm sorry, you're right.
It's just that they move into town because it's a pristine form of government. As soon as they get here, they want to change it. We got to change it now. That's not right.
A lot of people that way. Nothing wrong with change.
Carrie?
That pristine form of government that we love, the legislative body is the town